You look handsome. Got that out quick.
Got it. He always
Everybody
looks
got
handsome.
that?
He does.
Thank you. So, welcome everybody. Is there are there some people where this is the first time they've seen Orion Foxwood?
Yeah, my first.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so Orion, you have taught
We're
at Fairy
virgins.
Congress. You've taught at Fairy Congress for quite a number of times.
Yeah.
And he is really one of our treasures. Orion really brings in a whole different aspect to the Fairy Congress. He brings in the southern root work, the conjure work, the witchery, and he brings in this really delightful wordsmithing of just love. Everybody like just shines when Orion is around.
And look how cute he is.
I love you. I'm trying to get my lips through the little hole on my computer so I can give you all kisses. I just love you. I'm in love with you. I love Fairy Congress. Shoshana, come on over.
I know. I'm trying. I'm in North Carolina.
You're not far away.
I
Come
know.
on.
We got to see each other.
Maybe an 8-hour drive max.
Hi, Orion.
Hey. Oh my God.
We
I haven't
love
seen
you.
ever.
We love you too.
I love you. I love you. Ooh, look at your life.
It's good. It's all being recorded.
Okay.
All the
We're
love.
gonna have to have the mute.
What if all this love gets
It's a love fest.
Okay,
Can I just all roll around together?
okay, I'm muting everybody. All right. So, Ryan Foxwood. He is a traditional witch, conjureman, and fairy seer. He's the author of a number of books: The Fairy Teachings, The Tree of Enchantment, The Candle and the Crossroads, The Flame and the Cauldron, which is about witchery. And then you've had a new book out, Orion. Whoops, we need to unmute yourself.
Be gone, you mute. The mute has gone away. Now I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And then you have a new book out that's been out fairly recently.
Well, it's actually a renaming. They re-released the Candle of the Crossroads under another name, which was the Mountain Conjure one.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I'm working on another one. I'm co-authoring right now on working with stones, crystals, and gems. But this one, instead of a New Age practice, it's all the ancient stuff and coming from an animist standpoint, because in the ancient world, stones were not things. In older magic, stones weren't things at all. They were the Noma, the knowing ones, the most ancient beings on the planet. So it comes from that vantage point, and it's bringing in a lot of old stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. I keep saying most books are New Age books. This is an old age book, which sounds a little odd, but yeah. So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Great. So Orion was born with a veil, the second sight, in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, where he was first exposed to faith healing, root doctoring, fairy lore, and the second sight practices of Southern and Appalachian culture. He has continued learning and teaching these spirit doctorings practices in workshops, intensives, and lectures in America and other countries. He is the co-founder, primary instructor of the House of Bree Fairy Seership Institute, where he teaches a multi-year teaching program in the Tree of Enchantment lore, practices, traditions, and skills. He is also a co-founder of Conjure Workshops, which is a collaboration between 5 seasoned root workers and witches focused on preserving and promoting the healing and helping benefits of Southern root work, witchcraft, and other folk traditions. His website is orionfoxwood.com. So, Ryan, we are just delighted to have you here again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And on we go. So I would like to get us started first with something called the Song of the Seer, which we've sang many times at the Fairy Congress. And the words of this go simply, we are a people of the earth. And then it goes with the hands go up. We are a people of the sky. And then the hands come to the heart. We are a people of the heart. Then it goes out. We are remembering. And then in remembering to recall. And then like you're gathering into pieces. We are remembering, except the voice will do better. So the whole thing is, excuse me. Me. We are a people of the earth. And hands up, we are a people of the sky. Then the heart, we are a people of the heart. We are remembering, we are remembering. So let's do it together on the count of 3. Y'all ready? Let's rev up.
Let's unmute.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, y'all ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3 with hands down. We are a people of the earth. We are a people of the sky. We are a people of the heart. We are remembering. We are remembering. Forgot to say we should probably have muted.
Okay, Orion, you need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Now the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We are a people of the earth. We are a people of the sky. We are a people of the heart. We are remembering. We are remembering. Once again, we are a people of the earth. We are a people of the sky. We are a people of the heart. We are remembering. We are remembering. Let's do it one more time and with gusto. We are a people of the earth. We are a people of the sky. We are a people of the heart. We are remembering. We are remembering. Now with our hands down, feeling the pulse of the living earth. Good neighbors of the underrealms, awaken on to life. Ban the bane and bless our luck and banish blight and strife. Lead us to the ancient ways of life and love with land. Open now the hawthorn way as we extend our hand. We end this call with heartfelt breath and consecrated deed. Blessings to all by root and flower and wind scattered seed. Blessings to all by root and flower and wind scattered seed. Now gather up the seeds of light from the sacred earth. Blessings to all by root and flower and wind scattered seed. And breathe those out to the farthest extremities of the earth, going to wherever is needful. Let them fall upon the soil and awaken the ancestral wisdoms and rise up to the feet of everyone. Let them fall upon the White House. Let them fall upon all of our leaders. Let them fall in the distant places where people have forgotten how to live right and good with the sacred land. Let it fall upon the ancestors themselves and awaken their wisdom to guide, guard, and bless us as we restore each other and our world. Let it be, let it be, let it be. So it is. Thank you. So, there's so much I want to say in this workshop. This is about being magic. Well, really the story that leads up to this is both the co-creator call to action and a journey to a personal definition of magic. Now, first, the personal definition of magic. Magic is an ancient art. In fact, in many ways, magic is older than, well, definitely older than religion, and likely older than spirituality as we know it. Because magic was really about watching nature and understanding how it does what it does, how it changes the visible to the invisible and the invisible to the visible. But some years ago, when I early become an author, I saw all these different authors over the last few centuries writing on magic. They had their own definition of magic, you know. Now I wasn't equating myself with them because these are seriously wise folks like Aleister Crowley, Dion Fortune, the Star Hawk, and many, many more. But one day I said, daggone it, I've been doing this long enough. I want my own definition of magic. I joke when I say that, but the truth is, I challenge my students to do the same, to make their own definition based on their experiences about what is spirituality, what is mysticism, and what is magic. And I'll share these with you as a backdrop to the work we're doing today. Spirituality, and this is the Orionism, so hopefully it will be useful to you. Spirituality is simply an understanding that there's an essence that runs through everything, that there's a unity hidden behind the diversity of all things. And in spirituality, we want to understand it, live with it, gain its favor, obviously its blessings, and then that last piece. And hopefully it'll like us when we step out of the body into invisibility. And that some religions add little extra things there to get spirit to like us. But spirit already likes us. It loves us. Of course it does. It's undivided, you know. So spirituality ultimately is understanding the undergirding essence of all things. And if you think of that great life that is the undergirding webbing of all things, it's like an ocean, and each one of us are waves on that ocean, you know. And first the ocean emits the wave, then the wave takes the ocean with it. So here we are. To learn spirituality is to learn a relationship with the all that is, the essence that undergirds all. And then there's mysticism. Mysticism is, if it's everything, that means it's you, it's me. Then the question comes up. And in fact, I share with you a way that I framed it. One time, this was years ago, and I'd gone through a difficult time. My daddy had died, my sister was dying. A lot at once. Came out of a 25-year relationship, you know, it's like, whoo, you know, what was left, right? It was a tower time. And sometimes the tower times are about all that is familiar goes away. But if we release and surrender into it, we're being remade into something incredible. And that is what happened. But during my time of forlornness, I didn't feel like something sacred was going on. So I thought I was giving up. But I gave in. I gave in to something at the core of my being. And I remember it as clear as a bell. I was standing at the edge of my old bed. And I was thinking about the deaths and the relationships, so much stuff. I was feeling the weight of it. And finally, I just said, I give up. And I said, Mother Spirit, that's what I call the goddess. I've always called the great Mother Spirit ever since I was a little boy. And I said, Mother Spirit, help me to see me the way you saw me when you made me. Little did I know how profound that statement was. Help me to see me the way you saw me when you made me. Here, take my eyes, make them your eyes. Take my mouth, make them your mouth. Take my hands, make them. Now, of course, that was redundant. They already were hers. But what I was doing was the equivalent of what the Christians may call being reborn, or the gnosis, or the initiation. And I'll never forget, and I just felt like, you know, remember those old commercials with the Nestea plunge, you know, where the person falls back and the Nestea plunge back into like a little pool of water, where I just literally fell right back into the bed and woke up the next morning a very different person. Now, some years later, I was in LA, and I was with a group of occultists who were all academians, and we were annoyed at the Christian God. No disrespect to you. Right? But we were annoyed, and we were talking about our annoyance. So I get to the house where I'm staying at this wonderful magician. He was a ceremonial magician's house, Joe. And I talked to them during our discussion about God and about Yahweh, the name, because the name, one of the ways that the name is actually treated in older magical traditions is it's not a name, it's a breath. And remember, in the beginning was the word was God, and the word was with God. And the breath is with inward yah and an outward way. So it's feels very different when you do that, doesn't it? So I had taught him this. Now, keep in mind, I'd just been busy saying not so flattering things about that form of God. And so I'm laying there in bed, I'm falling asleep, and all of a sudden I hear coming out of everything. And I laid there a minute. I thought, do I hear what I think I'm hearing? Literally, it was like everything was breathing it. And then it hit me. Oh, shoot. He heard me. He heard what I said. And so this is where it gets profound on this. And I said, God, is that you? And nothing. And then all of a sudden he goes, don't call me that. I don't like to be called that. I told Yeshua not to call me that. I was like, oh, God's testy. So, and what he said was, I don't like that name. It's not a name that ever was used for me. And it distances me, and I am not distant. And I said, oh, okay. What would you like to be called? He got quiet. Well, he, she, it, because it was really, in the course of this, he told me, he said, I am whatever your heart needs me to be. He said, I'm beyond that, male, female, and all that. So I said, what would you like to be called? He said, grandfather. I like that. Isn't that sweet? And so I said, well, grandfather, I'm mad at you. So you would think everyone talks about this angry God. That's not what happened. So grandfather says, well, speak, son. And I said, well, first of all, if Yeshua was your only begotten son and you knew he was going to be tortured like that, how dare you send him down to go through all that? You should have never had custody. It was, you would think, oh my God, I thought the lightning's going to strike. No, there was a feeling of total satisfaction that came from this profound divine being, because these were sacred, it was sacred anger, sacred anger. And I said, what did I say? I said, so I got things to ask you, I said, well, why did you send him like that? He goes, when the world needed love, I extended myself as Yeshua. Notice the use of wording. I extended myself. I said, okay. But still in the back of my mind is, I got some things to reckon here, right? And I said, well, what about Buddha? He goes, when the world needed to understand peace, I extended myself as Buddha. And I thought, okay, he's passing the test so far. And I said, what about Aragia, also known as Aradia, the Etruscan goddess of witches sent by Diana to free the Etruscan peasants from the tyranny of the aristocracy? And didn't skip a beat. He goes, when the world needed to overcome the domination of those in greed, I extended myself as Aragia. Well, to a long story short, I said, but I thought you didn't like witches. He goes, I love witches. He goes, there is no part of me, listen to this, there is no part of me I do not love. Did you hear that? There is no part of me I do not love it. So, well, what about the Inquisition? I used to where hate is, I am not. And he said, I do not author the fate of humanity. It has free will. And then at that point, it was the way he said it all, or grandfather said it all. I was feeling deeply moved and humbled. So I asked the question that leads further into this workshop. And I recommend you consider this too. I said, grandfather, why did you become me? And then I got quiet. And if ever I have heard satisfaction in the heart of the divine, it was at that moment. It was as if everything around me was purring, not making the noise, but you know how when a cat purrs, there's a yummy satisfaction they emanate. And that's what I felt. And then when I asked that question, I asked it very low. I said, why did you become me? He said, when the world needed wonderment and to have the hope that is magic, I extended myself as you. By then I was crying. So I have two recommendations to you. One, if it's comfortable for your body, sometime put yourself at the edge of your bed, that nice nest where you sleep and dream. Surrender any of the burdens, any of the things that are heavy to you for a moment. Surrender it to she who breathed forth even the stars. And try saying, Mother Spirit, help me to see me the way you saw me when you made me. And then, I mean, I was dramatic with my, take my eyes, make them your eyes, all that. You could do that. And then fall back into the bed and let the nesting place of dreams reveal things to you. And then when you're ready, go to the mirror, look in your eyes, look deep into those beautiful retinas, And if you look real deep, it's going to be like a dark tunnel. And then at the end of that, you'll see a single little spark of light. That is a single spark from the original bonfire, from the first light ever lit on the altar of heaven, from the central sun of being. That's the divine inside you. Or what my dear friend, Dolores Ashcroft Norwicki says, that is your POG, point of God. And then simply ask that little light, God, or God's testy about it, so grandfather, right? But you can say God, because others have, and they've gotten great results. God, why did you become me? And this is important as a part of all of our mystery, to become awakened creators. We were born by excited expectation. We willed ourselves from the invisible to the visible. You heard what I said, we willed ourselves. The first extension of us from primal light was when the divine simply was like, I wonder what would happen if I yanify myself. I wonder what would happen if I Mahela-ize myself. Because bundled in you is a pulse of vital energy, an extension of the divine. We're not components of it. We're extensions of it, as much as the wave is the extension of the ocean. And each wave has the whole ocean in it. And our journey is to become awakened co-creators. When I started my work early with Bree, who's my spirit wife, my fairy wife, one of the things Bree told me, she said, because I've read all of the holy books pretty much, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Pentateuch, the Apocrypha, the Bible. I've always been a searcher of wisdom, of knowledge. And one of the things she said, there's things in the Bible that were quite deadpan right on. And one of them is created in God's image. She said that's literal, by the way. She said, infused in you is a benevolent conspiracy between the deep mother and the high father, made of the clay of an earth that makes life in abundance, rich diversity, an array of a kaleidoscope of life. And that's in you. We eat that every day. The soil is the digested wisdom of everything that has ever lived. And our plants grow in it. The animals we eat the plants. They're made out of it. Now there's a miracle going on in you right now as a magical being. Did you know all the iron in the universe, no exception, is made from stars that have burned out? That's the only way that iron is made. That means in you right now is iron from stars that burn out millions of years ago. So maybe when we're looking up at those stars in the heavens and we see a star that just really catches our eye and it's blinking a little, maybe it's not blinking, maybe it's winking, maybe just as we're going, I wonder if I'm from there. Is it looking down at you going, I wonder if I've become them? So as a part of that, I wrote this just a little ditty. At one of these days, I'll write some more chapters to it, or more stanzas. And it goes, we are stars with human feet, encountering starlight and all we meet. Know this, grow this, and ignite. And the stars will guide you through the darkest night. Because the stars are in everything. And we are here to re-illuminate. Have you ever noticed that everything that we see as holy throughout our traditions has light involved? The angels are made of light. The jinn are made of smokeless flame. The fairy are seen as made up of congealed liquid flame or liquid light, hence they come out of the mists. So, and we have saints with illuminated brows and halos. It's plasma. It's what the stars are made out of. It's what dances between your neurons. And if you look at an image of the Orion Nebula giving birth to stars, because it's a star nursery, then you take that and crosswalk and look at two neurons firing at each other between the synaptic cleft. It looks the same. Now, one more piece of mystery with that. Then I got some more things to lead us into. This is a recent finding. This gets so cool. Actually, two findings, very cool. The one is about water. You know, water is older than the stars. You heard that correct. Water is older than the stars. I should say ice is older than the stars. And now some recent research has revealed that 50% of the water on this planet is older than the solar system. That means right now, you've got star-born iron that is billions of years old, not millions. You've got water, 50% of the water right now is older than the sun. What's waiting to be remembered? Now, the concept in many traditions of being made of clay. This is a very more recent finding. And there's research on the prebiotic origins of life. Prebiotic meaning precellular. What they have now determined, the astrobiologists and astrophysicists, is that the origins of life is primarily these types of, they're not enzymes, they're called something else, and I don't remember what that was, that have come down on meteorites, right? But that's not the origins, because that couldn't become life without a pathway through which to come. So the original meteorites coming down, bringing these, we'll call enzymes for lack of a better term, comes down, hits our mineralized environment, and especially the iron areas, and flips the poles and causes an opening through which life comes. They said literally, life came from our minerals. And what makes our world so unique is so far the planets that we've encountered on a physical level, the geology grew and then it stopped, but not here. The geology grew and then other things affected the geology, and now biology started. And now biology and geology are growing together because biology is causing new geology. There's new minerals that have arrived just because of human involvement. And that's just the beginning. There's lots of different minerals that arrived because of the dinosaurs, because of all kinds of other things. Now, y'all, is that fantastic? On our planet, geology and biology are lovers in a dance of life. And that's a part of what makes this incredible place wonderful. So I shared all of these things because you're made of that clay. You're made of those minerals. You're made of that water. You're made of that iron. You are stars with human feet. So now the question is, you came here from a long way away. We were here when the Big Bang happened. There's no new energy. We're a part of the Big Bang energy. That means we're old. I mean, we look pretty good for billions of years old, I think, don't you? We're ancient and on our way to become human at a time when our constructs of soul cage and division are being shattered before us. This is the time we've all been waiting for. So it's time for us to truly awaken unto life. Everyone on here has been summoned to do this kind of work by things that made no sense. You got to think about it a minute. And I just spoke at the Pagan Academic Conference, and I was telling them the same thing, and that is, it's the Fool card in the Tarot. Let me describe. So the Fool card in the Tarot has this androgynous being, right? And they're in sort of like a page's outfit, and they have a hobo bag, right, of stuff. And then there's a little doggy biting at their heel, and then they're looking skyward and they're stepping off of a cliff. So what we really have there is newness, the beginning of things. So that's the 0 card. That is the opening of the great void, out of which pours all life. We have this freshness, the youth looking heavenward. We have the little dog biting his heels, which is going, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You know, the animal instinct that says, don't step off that cliff. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. Right. And so that's sort of his conscience in a way. And the hobo bag is everything this little fellow or little lady remembers from the previous existence, whatever that was. And are looking heavenward because they're like, coming into birth is an act of faith and an assignment from that which created us. So it's looking upward like, okay, I'm going to do it. I trust you. And it steps off the cliff onto the cloud of unknowing. And the tarot, which means wheel, the taroki begins. And each one of us were that new, fresh soul, that piece of the divine who said, well, here we go. You know, wherever you were, wherever you've been, that little doggy barking there, carrying the wisdoms we've accumulated so far. Maybe for some of us, we were brand new, didn't have a hobo bag, you know, maybe we didn't have a doggy. We just went zipping right on in. And once we got in, we said, whoa, someone should have given me the manual for this. But here we are, and you chose to be here now, and you chose to waken now. You see, we were all called by something that ultimately made no sense. Let's think about it. We did not get an increase in pay to talk to fairies. We didn't. And when I talked to witches and them, well, even more so with them, you did not get a perk for that. But you were driven by something you couldn't truly explain, but you knew you had to obey. You knew that something wasn't right in the direction we were going. And you knew that there was a grace in nature, that our wisdom, that our future, that our very redemption was in nature. And you allowed yourself to return to original innocence. For I say we were not born in original sin, we were born in original innocence. Even in our tradition, in my craft tradition, which is an old one, my queen, Lady Circe, who I wish y'all could have met, she was the goddess walking the earth. She said, if you would walk the witch's way, observe with care the child at play. And she was talking about the original innocence. Now, as we talk about fairy work and fairy tradition this whole weekend, we've got one group of elders to most thank for the preservation of fairy tradition. This group of elders would not let go of the theme of fairy no matter what. Inquisitions did not do anything to scare them, and that was the children. They would not let go. And thus we have all these children's stories and stuff where, yes, albeit the fairy got smaller and smaller, but just small enough to fit through the keyhole in our consciousness and emerge again as the vast sacred powers that they are. So the next time when we're looking at children, thank them. It's because of them that we're able to unearth what we're doing now. You know? So some years ago in my journey, so I talked about the definitions of magic, and then my little journey there with God, which was really wonderful to have these beings. Sometimes we follow religions, but we never listen to what they have to say, you know? And we, what was it in that movie? I think it's called Dogma with Chris Rock, where he plays this, was the ninth apostle or something like that. It was a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, you must. It's a must. And he said, the Bible is just a book of considerations or something like that. He said, suggestions. Because ultimately, the drive and spirit's got to come from within. So some years ago, there was two things happened for me that I want to share with you. And one has to do with the whole concept of the spell of forgetfulness and the re-enchantment of the world and the call to co-creative call to action and such things as that. First, I was in New Hampshire at a place along the Kangamangas Highway. There's a name for you. In the White Mountains. and where the grandfather in the mountains used to be, but the face has fallen down now. But there's this place called the Plume, which is water just rushes down these like a stone. It's a creek, but it's a fast running creek with a stone floor to it, and it comes rushing down into this basin. It's incredible. And I was just sitting there, and I might have been, God, 22, 23 years old. So dinosaurs were still roaming the land, and and this being just jumped out of this massive balsam tree that was there, and it was a dryad. And she started speaking with me, and I was thinking, I was pondering so much on pollution and the things we're doing, and she looks at me and she said, "Something vexes you, my child." And I said, "It does." I said, "Are we going to destroy the earth?" And I was really worried. And she humbled me. She said, "Well, what? That little match that your species has?" She said, "Let me show you fire." She shows me the center of the world. And I said, "Oh, never mind. That's big." And she said, that was when she said, "There's a co-creative call to action." And then Bree echoed it further when she came some years later into my life. She said, "There has been a co-creative action for the restoration of well-being in your world. And it started in the mid-1800s. In the mid-1800s, we saw all kinds of movements going on. Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky. We watched the Golden Dawn emerge in a group of ceremonial magicians, some profound minds. We watched movement after movement. The fairy tradition itself, an interest in that with the Celtic Twilight movement. And it kept going on, magical moves all the way up through Wicca, modern Wicca to now. What we saw and what we felt was that the tree of humanity was shaking. That the ancestors were forward looking into where we were going. We were really at the edge of the beginnings, really, well, probably a little further than the beginnings of the industrial age, where we were drifting further away from consideration of our connection to nature itself. And we were already seeing the still meals starting to dump things into the waters, and things. It was the beginning, and the oldest of ancestors were shaking the tree. Because you see, the thing we forget sometimes is all of us, no one excluded, is downline from the original people. If you're in a body, you came from a blood lineage, and that blood lineage is a part of the survivors over the centuries. And so if you're alive, I think we're alive, but we can't be sure. Just because we're in the same place at the same time doesn't mean we're in a body. But wherever I'm at, I'm sure glad I'm there because I'm with you. So we are downline from the original peoples, be they of Native America, be they of Africa, Asia, Europe. All of us are downline from these sacred people. And thus they can reach across the generations to us to guide us, to help us. In fact, we want them to. The beginning of what led to the Fairy Congress. You see what we're doing right now didn't start with the visions that maybe Michael or Daphne, I think was her name, that was involved. All this, those are all inheritors of a pulse unfolding it further. With each agent of change, each visionary over subsequent generations, unfurling this multi-petaled flower of human co-creative enlightenment that's been going on. But it's driven by a need. And that's what you need to know. You are a part of a solution. We have a concept in the craft called the witch blood. And the witch blood's a fascinating concept. The belief about where did the witches come from, you guys understand that the concept of a witch shows up in every indigenous tradition worldwide. The concept of them being evil is a much later development that's mostly related to political stuff, religious politics, as religion took a bad turn. But they had many names, not just a witch. Just comes from Viche, then Vitki, then Wike, then Wicca, then Weech, then witch. It's literally gone through generations of names, but that's a Saxon word. But it's ultimately these human beings, often women, but not always, who have a genetic trait. And in that genetic trait, they're able to see not just the expressed world, but they have double sight and other gifts. And they are in an active relationship with the spirit world, right? Now, they say, and I would say this for all of you, that where the origins of this blood came from, if you were in the Middle East, they'd say, you were born from the mating of the daughters of man with the sons of God, the watchers that bring then the blood that then became the witches and the men and women of great renown that then the flood came to destroy. That's not how we learned it, how it in the tradition I came from, although the lore of the watchers is there, that the witch blood came from the mating of humanity and the fairy people. And that the fairy people, they're described in some traditions, in old Irish traditions, they're described as not the fallen angels, but the ambivalent ones. You know, when they talk about the concept of the fallen angel and all that, they say that there were those who did not take any side. And they fell, but not into hell. They fell into the clouds, into the moon, into the waters, into the earth, into the elements, basically. And they became the life of earth itself. And those are the Feyari. Those are the Yatol with Teg, the people of peace. And that there was a time early in the wave of humanity when certain ones mated with our people. And both the legends and what Bree has said is that, you know, some did not like us and still don't, often known as the unseelie court. I think I can understand for good reason right now. We've done some things that we need to really clean up. And then, but there were those who did and do, who have hope in us. And those were ones that mated with humanity and imprinted our blood with a blood that would awaken at another time. We call that the witch blood. You don't have to identify with the word. It's a word. It's just a word. When I asked Bree, because the legends don't say why this occurred, and Bree says, so that there would be some of you that could not forget and that could awaken when the time comes. When necessity, opportunity, and resource awaken like tumblers in a lock and awaken the old blood. I believe most of you, if not all of you on here, are a part of that too, whether you identify with that W word or not. That's all, that's inconsequential. There was something already in you that called you to do the work that you do. Something that comes from intuition instead of extuition, esoteric instead of from exoteric, meaning it was already in you. And necessity, the need. Opportunity, other people awakening and teachers. Resources, the way to awaken happened, and here we are. So we are involved in becoming conscious creators of our destiny. Now, when I was going through my little journey about a definition for magic, right? I heard so many of them, you know, magic was the art of creation in conformance with will or something like that. And there's all these really, you know, pretty impressive sounding definitions. But my extraction over, I've been working magic since I was born into a magical culture where we had root work and conjures. So I never knew it not to be around. We just didn't call it magic. It was the work. So for a long time, and you see, I asked myself, why does magic exist today? It's because it's relevant. It's because it's relevant. Magic is about taking that concept of being made in God's image and living it. All the legends say that we were constructed somehow between a relationship between that of which the earth is made and that of which the heaven is ever arriving. And so we've hit the time when in history, there's never been a time when so many people are proclaiming themselves, whether it's witches, wizards, magic workers, shamans, all the many, many names to magic workers. There's never been a time in the history of this world when there's been so many. Why is that? Because of that thing that started in the early 1800s to now. The co-creative call to action for the restoration of well-being for Earth and her life. Let's take just a moment before we do some work with this and look at each other, colleagues, companions, courageous ones. You heeded the call to something that probably started out when you were little, when you were already seeing the world in ways that maybe the other kids weren't. You know, most of us started out pretty weird. I'm glad to say I've retained it. Driven by something we couldn't explain and we couldn't shake off. And here we are, courageous excavators of an ancient way. And I believe that it's people like us who'll be a part of saving our own species, our world, and opening the gate to the next generation. So another part of the growth of this work has been in understanding the wounds in the human spirit. It's very crucial that we as healers, oh, look at the kitty. We as healers, we as conscious creators understand also what we're working with. Now, in a quickie, I went to Bree. Again, Bree is my spirit wife, my fairy wife, my queen, the soul of my work. And this was, oh God, some years ago now, because I would go to certain different events. And at that time, PantheaCon, and in my classes was hundreds of people. And they were wonderful and I loved them. And I would do visionary work to see what I need to do that year that would be helpful. And I'd go and I'd do it. And I could see they would come in feeling a little deflated by the year. And by the end of the workshop, they were feeling full. And that felt really good to be a part of lifting our spirit people and hopefully giving some tools, you know. But then each year I'd come back and they were deflated again. And that was bothering me a lot. And I knew that we were in a world that was changing and that's a part of it. But then I knew there was something else. This has got to drive our work. And I know it drives your work. And hopefully this will be words that you can play with how just further, because sometimes we know things, we just can't find the words to express it. So I went to Bree, I said, Bree, there is a wound in the heart of humanity and it's affecting everything that we do. And also these lovely people who are awakening to be agents of change and healers of our world, they're getting deflated by it. They're trying so hard, but they're getting deflated. What is it? And she said, my love, I cannot tell you. I can only show you it inside of you. But I need to warn you, you may not survive. Most don't. I thought, well, that's encouraging. That's a pick me up. But I could not learn it. And I said, well, I cannot teach a half truth. I cannot teach a Band-Aid because as Martin Luther King said, a half truth is a whole lie. I said, I can't give people what I hope is help and then watch them deflated again and again. I said, so I'd rather die honest than live a half truth. And she showed me, boy, she wasn't kidding. I almost died. So this is so others don't have to go through that. And here's what was revealed. There's one core wound and there's three wounds that, or really three states, three behaviors that evolve out of it. The core wound is the illusion of isolation. And the core wound happened not because of the patriarchy. It certainly has embodied it well. It's been going on for a good long time. It happened because of a rapidly developing nervous system that was impacted by the impact of fire. When we were exposed to fire, it changed everything. We could migrate from the south to the north, from the warmer climates to the cold. We could migrate at night. We could, like a sword of light, we could cut through the darkness and see. We could survive animals that were attacking us at night, scare them away with that fire. We could smelt metal. That was magic. And more important than anything, There are things in our food that would cause our people to not live so long, parasites. We could cook those and eradicate them, and then we could cook meat. And meat that brought about new proteins that we didn't have, and that simian brain grew like crazy. All we're looking at is the side effects of a species that got fascinated with its nervous system, enchanted by it. And who wouldn't? All of a sudden you're going, oh my God, I got a thumb. You know, I could do these things with this thumb. Oh my God, I could make this. I can make this. It was fascinating, right? But now we have to go back and pick up what we dropped off. So the illusion of isolation is simply about over specialization, over differentiation, the false exile. I personally believe that the legend about Eden, that particular legend is a warning. I don't believe it happened. I think it's saying, if you take this fire, that's the fruit coming down the tree. You're going, because the fire would come from the lightning. You're going to evolve so quick that you're going to see yourself outside the garden. You're going to differentiate yourself so much. And here we are. We see this evidence in statements like, well, we've returned back to nature. And I said, really, where did you go? Fascinating. You might have return back to your awareness of it, but you're made of it. So that was a very important piece, because when we know that, there's no one we have to blame. We could also look at people, see the side effects of it. So the illusion of isolation, over differentiation, over specialization, brings about something else in it, and that is abandonment, fear, fury, and shame. It's an abandonment wound. And that abandonment wound drives us to churches, synagogues, everywhere. We're trying to reconnect. The word religion means to relink, or well, some say to religion, which means to reconnect to the whole, to the many, the one to the many. But others, it's religio, to relink, to reconnect, right? We're the only species that needs to do this. It's because free will, the ability to see oneself as unique and different, came with that specialization that happened, right? And so, do you see how important y'all are? Again, what you're dipping into is the salve of the soul, and what you resonate into the world. All we have to do is get to the 100th monkey. Bree says it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So the abandonment, fear, fury, and shame, that is the most dangerous thing in the world. It has shaped our species into another species. And then there's those of us who are coming back to rescue the species by reconnecting again. So abandonment, fear, fury, and shame. And so that evolves into 3 other things. And then from that, we're going to go right on into this technique. The abandonment, fear, fury, and shame, then out of that comes the desire to possess. You see, if I'm no longer a part of the wholeness, or I believe I'm not a part of the wholeness, then there's 3, emotional reactions I'm going to have. Fear, oh my God, if I'm not a part of the wholeness, there's nothing that's going to take care of me. I got to take care of me. Oh my God, I'm, the fear, and the fear being punished for being human. And then, so there's the fear, the fury. Oh, you kicked me out of the damn garden for eating a piece of fruit, did you? I'm using that as a radical example. And then screw you. I'm gonna use up the world. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna exploit everything. There's an anger, a deep inborn anger, that we've been exiled somehow, pushed out of something because of being human. So that's the fear. That's the fury. And then the shame is seeing what we're doing and the things that we're breaking, and it almost seems like we can't stop. And it seems like there's something inherently broken about us. The truth is, all of them are right and all of them are wrong. In many ways, even the most greedy, even the most horrific deeds are driven by the fear, fury, and shame. That's a toxic side effect of just a fast moving nervous system. Now we got to cool that tool and slow it down and reintroduce the fire that's moved through us back to the sacred waters, the feminine, for instance, the integrative power. From that, then so desire to possess, the illusion of isolation, desire to possess, that's control. The resentment of change, anger when we can't control it. And the last one is the desire for absolutes. All fundamentalism of any kind evolves out of terror, terror to be wrong, terror that will not get back into that grace. The truth is, the grace never left. The wholeness never left. We did. And all of us are a part of turning our awareness that was outward as we reached out further away from nature, away from the holism that we are made of, and have turned our attention back towards it. I said, like a trout, not trout, like salmon going back to its origins, we're swimming back to those origins. So when I look at magic and its way and its work and its definitions, and I think of the complexity that many books make it look like you must have these sigils of many different types. They're pretty, I mean, and they're very specific, and I think they're a bit cumbersome. And the truth is, to use an inherent ability that is in us, we ultimately don't need all of those things, because the very thing that we're shaping, we're made of. We're inside of life as co-creative operators of it. So I'd like to teach you the components, I may, of this. So this workshop that I'm teaching is all a part of a multi-series of workshops that I'm doing. So if anyone interested in understanding this further after I teach you this technique, this is all about awakening these simple principles in us and becoming conscious co-creators, something you're already doing. And these things I think will just add. So without further ado, let me talk about casting the golden cord and what this is about. Sadly, I know so many magic workers right now that are just terrified, like a deer caught in the headlights. Because let's face it, if we look straight on at the appearance of things, it's very scary with new strains of viruses and that are invisible, and we wonder what their origins are. And then we got things going on in ecology that are big, things like that volcano. I hope you guys are not being affected by those tidal waves that I'm hearing about. And just big things. And the truth is, these big things are all about the same thing. Black Lives Matter, which I just loved. I love it. I love these consciousness eruptions. I think women are probably next, where they're going to be erupting about it because they've gotten tired of the girdled consciousness, meaning the stifling. We're going to watch those who've been hurt the most erupt, and we need to witness their eruption and love each other into wholeness. We are all children of one mother, sister, and brother, human and other, and her name is Earth. So Black Lives Matter, the virus itself that made us hit the pause button and stay home. It made us stay home, get simple, start looking at some things. I don't know about you, but I love the concept of the masks, and here's why. We are all connected by an invisible force, by a well that we all must drink from, called air. And I love that when we were staying home, it was to protect our breath and the breath of those we live with who we love. But when we'd wear the mask, it was to protect the breath of people we don't know. I looked at the masks as a type of grail, a reminder that I'm connected to everyone else. And every time I put it on, I would stop and I would look at it and I would think, may this exude magical power to bless all those who see me on it. Yes, I care about your breath. Yes, I care about your breath. Yes, you matter to me. So all these things are to shake us up to come home into a unity of life. So I want you to take some moments here. This technique that I developed. Now I want to step into it with you. I've watched so many magic workers get scared by the big change. You know, some of us have lost people to death and with COVID. I have, and it's been very difficult. And actually, it's been a difficult year that way because one of our dear friends was murdered. And that one, murder is not something, I'm finding murder is not easy to get over. because that's someone choosing to take someone else's existence away. And this was a good man, a very good man. And then from then, COVID and other things, you know, people dying. It's been a, boy, if nothing has taught us compassion, and our beloved David, it's been intense. It's been an intense year to make us look at everything we believe about the invisible and the invisible, about life, and to come to compassion. So even magic workers have been stifled. And I said, stop. You who are magic workers have mere moments to stay in grief that paralyzes you. You have to be the bringers of miracles. You have to be the reminders that we are not conditioned by the conditions, that we are born of a field of existence greater than what we see. What we see is not the limit of what can be. And so you and us and our allies are the ones now that have to hold in place where we are going and not let this thing stray, because there's competing forces fed by fear and the illusion of isolation. So now, what do you think? Want to do some work? Do some work? So I'd like, before we even go into this, for you to kindle within yourself how you really want to see the world. What's our world look like more, not the finished product, but in the state that our heart yearns for, that we know can be? For instance, on the human part, are we more loving? Have we reduced the resources that we use in a way that doesn't impact the earth so much? Have we figured out sustainable energy that doesn't mean robbing anything from the earth or harming something? Have we really caught on to not polluting and cutting down trees? Yes. What do we look like? What do we feel like? What's it feel like to live in the world that we all know we can achieve, that we all want for our children, for ourselves, for our future, for our planet? So I want you to take that moment and just feel that a second. Imagine what that world will be in that form. And do this for the love of Earth. Now let that vision build up inside our feelings, and then just sort of let it be in you as we build the technique, the visionary technique of casting the golden cord. Be aware of the heavens above, the sun, the moon, the stars, the vastness. Right now, even as I speak, we have a winter storm blowing through, and I can hear the wind strong out to, which I love. Oh, remember the times as a kid, you've looked up at the stars, just been in awe. I don't know about you, but I'm still that kid. Let the awesomeness of it all come down into your now. Be that little child that looks to the heavens and is in awe, and realize that you are a stream of that light that has come, extended itself from the primal beginnings into the earth and risen as who you are now. So be aware of the above and all the luminaries of heaven of which you are part, and feel its presence come down into your now. Into you comes a waterfall of light, the extension of primal light that you are. In fact, we are on a planet circulating around a star that is part of a solar system moving through eternity. And as we do, star pulses are moving through us, and each one of those pulses become all living things, including you. You are stars with human feet. Feel that waterfall of light fall down to feel your center illuminated with wonderment. Now below, feel the extension of your awareness to the sacred earth and her core, passing through the levels of mineral and water and roots and bones, and through the hidden waterways and secret passages of the undercountry. And as you do, realize and come into the knowing that all that we know, all that we love rises from the earth. For I tell you, life does not come down from above, it rises from below. The earth takes the light of the sun and makes life. Our flesh, our homes, our food, our children, our animal friends, everything made of this sacred earth, so giving, so generous. Feel yourself, feel the pulse of the living earth rising to you and the givingness of earth and her grace. And let gratitude rise up like a fountain of blue and silver light pulsing from the heart of the dreaming child of promise at the core of our world. You see, at the core of our world burns the nearest star. And that pulsing light is the heart of a pure, dreaming child of promise that lies sleeping on a bed of blue flame, dreaming the world into existence. And one of its visionary pulses rising is you. That pulsing blue silver flame rising like a fountain up through you, bringing peace. And as it does, feel yourself filled with the gratitude for all that earth gives and all of its profound, deep wisdom and the wisdom of your ancestors that rises to your center now. Now before you, behind you, and to your sides are 4 directions. Behind you is the momentum of the past. You who arrived here at this moment on a series of nows. Behind you are the nows that have been before you, the nows anticipated. On a stream of nows, you arrived here on the velocity of your choices, the velocity of all you've been. You have a powerhouse of wisdom behind you to extract the nutritional value of what you've been, as the light and essence of you has threaded through many forms and been many things. You have profound wisdom, whether you know it or not. You were here at the beginning of all. To feel that momentum of the past behind you. And before you is the unfurling river of time. Before you is the unclaimed future waiting to be shaped. Now to the left of you, rising up from the memory of the blood, the bone, and the soil are the mothers of wisdom. The blessed, the redeemed mothers who rise up first from the blood, the memory of your blood. In your blood, there are other wise men and wise women. Some you may know and some you don't. Those known and unknown, named and unnamed, seen and unseen. They rise up to the memory of your blood. Those seers, those witches, those shamans, those wise grandmothers who knew things and who are blessed and redeemed. And they rise up as another stream of them rise now from the bones. In your bones are made of chelated calcium. Chelated calcium comes from the bones of other things that have lived. Your bones are comprised of bones of dinosaurs and other things. As the plants take it from the soil through them, and we eat the plants, or the things that eat plants. So we feel in our bones rising to us through the left, the mothers who are pre-human. Ancient mothers, redeemed and wise. And now from the soil, wherever you are, wherever you live, wherever you find yourself drawn to, a piece of you is in that land, whether that is from an ancestor, whether that's from somehow another ancestor related to you, but in the land is wisdom that has been held in place for you and been waiting for you. Feel rising from the land you live on, or the land where you are, the ancestors of the soil, those ancient indigenous wisdoms, those mothers who rise up from the soil. Now the 3 streams of Blood, bone, and soil come together as one. And these mothers to the left place their left hand under your left elbow and their right hand at your left shoulder blade. Now to the right, we can feel a quivering happen. The fathers, they rise up from the memory of the blood and the bone and the soil. From the blood come the fathers of wisdom, the exalted, redeemed, and blessed ones who were teachers of truth, who were priests, shamans, witches, unknown grandfathers who knew things, undivided in their core and peaceful. They rise up from the memory of your blood. And now the next lineage of them rise from the memory of your bone, those fathers pre-human who walk with us, wise and ancient. And then the fathers in the soil where you live and where you are, the pieces of you that called you to be in that place. Because everywhere we go to do work, it's because there is a call between person, place, and thing. You, the person, the power of the place, and whatever you're doing together. So that rises now to, and the fathers, the three streams come together with their left hand at your right shoulder blade and their right hands under your right elbow. Now we feel them, the mothers to the left, fathers to the right. We never walk alone. Know this as you walk through the world. You never walk alone. And when you do your work and when you feel you need strength and when you just want to thank them, feel the presence of the mothers and fathers of magic and miracles, the mothers and fathers of grace. I call them those who walk in grace because they rarely will show their face. Why? Because for them, this walk is about you. And so they walk in grace with you because something about you is completing work they started. So they pass on things that they have to help guide, guard, and bless us. So we thank them, we thank them, we thank them. They're the ones that when you usually go right at that intersection, but something said go left, they're the ones. They saved you from that accident. They're the closest spiritual next of kin, and they're with you always. So now we feel the mothers to the left, fathers to the right. In the distant future, we can feel the presence of the beckoning androgyne. In the distant past, we feel the origins of humanity, which was the androgyne. And here we sit, now inside of us. We share a center with the center of all things. Your center is the center the angels drink from. Their center is matches. We're all of our center is made of the same thing. Yet we have our own center, our own component of eternity. So feel now in your breath, as you breathe in and you breathe out, you are breathing the atmosphere. You are breathing eternity. The mother of all things, the breather of even the stars, with her lips upon you, O great mother, we feel her breathe into us, then draw our breath out. And then we breathe into her and we draw her breath out with a reciprocity. How could we ever feel abandoned from our mothers when our mother, the mother of all mothers, is with us always? And so as we breathe and are being breathed, with every breath we take and release, we cast the spell of love and peace. As you breathe in, you're filled with more space. As you breathe out, that which consumes your space and that which is heavy is breathed out and taken away. And be aware of your heart, a different kind of lung. For it is your heart that breathes starlight. For it pulses the plasmatic light throughout the galaxy of your body, as sure as the central sun, the first star ever lit on the altar of heaven, pulses its light throughout all the luminaries of existence, including you. And the Father and the heart, the mother and the breath, and their two come together as one, out of which you, the child of promise, come. And the directions come together in this work. Now summon up again that future that you wish for, that future that you can feel into presence. You see, thoughts, using the analogy of fishing, thoughts is how you throw the line, but feeling is how you reel it in. So build up the feeling of that future beyond any shape that you see. The shapes that are present are not even a consideration. Feel the world and the way that we love it to be. Now, I want you to feel the past behind you. You arrived here on millions of years of momentum. You have been many things. You've been solar wind, star pulse. You've been stellar gas. That doesn't sound so pleasant, but you were here when the shining ones arrived. You have been plants, you have been animal, you have been mycelium, you have been multicellular, you've been dinosaur, you've been many things to come to this place. You've been many types of humans and other, and here you are. That thread of being is behind you, and you rise like a single wave from that stream. That's who you are today. So what I want you to do is be aware of that momentum that you have arrived here on, that legacy of all that you've ever been. Do you know that in that legacy is profound power and wisdom, and it is a bank that is never going to run dry? You could extract its potency while leaving its pain. We're not going back to be something else. We're extracting the wisdom, the velocity of all we've been. So now reaching back behind you, feel starting to build up a cord of power. Draw from your past power of the wisdom of what you've been, the potency and the drive to become. And where there is pain, let that pain fall away and compost into essence. Let the power build. Extract the power. It is yours. You ride on this velocity. Just hold on to it and let it grow. We're going to count to 3. And on the count of 3, I want you to feel that power congeal like a golden cord, like an electric cord that is moving and serpenting around and wanting to be cast and let go, because I want you to feel that momentum. And then when we get to 3, we're going to cast it to the future so that it loops like a lasso around the future that we desire. On the count of 1, we can feel that cord building. To feel it starting to whip. We can feel the extracted wisdom and potency of what we've been, guiding what we are creating now. And it builds up. On the count of 2, it's almost impossible to hold it. It's wiggling, it's moving, it's building in strength and wants to be released. And I'm getting ready to say that other number. You know the one. Oh, it's building. You want to let it go. You're saying, Orion, will you shut up and cast the daggone thing? And it's building and it's getting stronger. And feel the world that we want so much that we are going to lasso into existence. And 3. Cast that cord as it extends all the way into the future. Into the future, we are feeling into existence. And now the future can pull us towards it, and we can pull ourselves towards it. And those who walk in grace to the left and right say, let go. We will hold that cord in place for you. We will help keep your feet in right relationship with the directive of your spirit, O conscious creator of your destiny. And now we feel that cord, that thread, that thing that calls us forward. Whenever we feel like we're losing direction, we feel that cord. We can twang it like the chord on the guitar. And whenever we need to strengthen it, we can go back to this work. And there's much more yet to do. For now, we can feel it. We can feel ourselves consciously participating in a co-created world over the hump of what we see before us. And now we feel the powers of the above and the below and the left and right. The future, now we have strengthened the cord that extends from our past to our now to the future. We are on this golden road. And those 4 directions come in towards the center and above and below into the center, where we are made of breathing space and starlight, the universe, in human feet. And we are the crossroads where magic begins and ends. Let this be written into the book of the law, that none may rend asunder, as it is, as it was, as it ever shall be. We call to earth to bind our spell. Air speed its travel well. Fire give its spirit from above, and water quench our spell with love. Discharge is true, and proper it be, as we do will, so mote it be. As it is, as it was, as it ever shall be. May the powers of love encompass you all, through all nights and through all days, and in all good ways. Now with your hands towards the heavens, like to seal us in this strength. Now feel that great waterfall of light descending from the heavens, that waterfall that's ever becoming you. And if you will, encant this with me. I call down the cloak of the angels. Fall down as a waterfall of lights, and fill it now as it falls down around you, this garb of eternal presence. And then take the edges of it and wrap it around you while we say, guiding, guarding, and blessing me by day and by night. No doubt, no harm may penetrate this. Now let's do this again for each other and for the whole of the Fairy Congress. We call down the cloak of the angels. Fall down as a waterfall of light. We wrap that around each other, guiding, guarding, and blessing each one of the Fairy Congress, people seen and unseen, known and unknown, named and unnamed. Guiding, guarding, and blessing us all by day and by night. And through this cloak, no bane, no harm, confusion may penetrate. May it guide and guard you always, all days, always. Now, Jan, are you looking at the time? This could be the beginning of the age of Aquarius for sure.
Thank you, Orion. So you are kind of right on time. Thank you so much. This was very profound. Should we open it up to questions? So actually, I just wanted to let you know, people, a little bit about the schedule tonight. So 6:15, we're going to have the closing circle and the angel wash ceremony, which is a blessing ceremony, so that everybody leaves the Fairy Congress feeling blessed and full of love. That's going to be on a separate Zoom call. You go to the event section and click on that one. And here we're going to have some questions. And then we're also going to break out into small breakout rooms. And we're doing that because one of the wonderful things about Fairy Congress is the people that we meet. We're really creating this, we're really weaving a web of humanity. And so I would encourage you to join the breakout rooms and just meet people. We've got some amazing people here in this community. Orion, how would you like to handle questions?
I guess if people are posting them, is that how it works? And if you maybe if you read them or something, then
Okay.
you can respond if that was.
So if people have questions, either they can raise their hand or they can, there's a lot of screens here, so I can't, if somebody raised their physical hand, I can't see it if you're on page 4. But if you use the reactions button, raise the hand. And Carla just had a good question about signing up for more Orion. I'm going to put my email address down here, and if you can, because we don't have any way of getting a mailing list for, currently we don't have a mailing list for Orion, so if people can email me their email addresses, I will compile a list.
I have a bunch of stuff coming up, so I could get that to you. How did that feel for everyone? Were you able to plug into that? You have a very pensive, scholarly look on your face, Jan, as you're typing. So the mysteries are being.
Bramble has her hand up.
Bramble, the microphone is yours. You need to
Yes,
unmute.
thank you.
Yes.
Hello. Thank you so much. I love you
Right.
so much. Every time is just like such a blessing. But
Thank you. Love you, dear sister.
I put a little note in the chat that like when you were speaking about fire and the nervous system and you know how that all came about, I was just thinking about like electricity is new and technology and what's going on. Like, do you have any comments about how that might actually be altering us or affecting us?
You know, I have so many mixed feelings about it. And, you know, there's the things that humans cause and the things that humans do with their technology that sometimes is not so good and sometimes it's a part of fate. For instance, when the coronavirus came out, and I was so concerned, and I went to Bree, and I said, Bree, was this made by the hand of humans or was this by the hand of nature? She said, I quote, it doesn't matter. And that's, what do you mean it doesn't matter? She said, the hand of Mother Fate was on this. She said, this was necessary. She said, this is not the worst. It feels like it. She said, your people have got to unify as in a oneness of heart. And this is the beginning of it. And she said, what will stop this? Your technology will help. She said, but the truth is how you relate to each other and how you care for each other is the essence of how you will, you can't, she said, if you wage a war on it, you will lose. She said, I quote, if you wage war on it, it will fight back and bring its bar buddies and they're even worse. And I was like, oh my God. And she said, it's not here as an evil, regardless of where it came from. She said, your species will, she said, it's not about winning and losing. You will overcome the challenge of this and move into wholeness, but you got to do it for each other, not just for yourself. Just like she says, what we do ecologically, when we change things, when we get better about how we handle the, I don't know, all the different ways that we, you know, chemical dumping and all these things. She said, when we change those things, we can't do it because we want to improve life for humans. She said, you got to do it because you want to improve life for all. And she said, because that is what causes the rest of life to look at you and go, yes, I want them here. She said, right now, when you walk into the woods, for most humans, most of the woods run screaming or running away. She said, what you want is when you walk into the woods, them to go, oh, look, they're here. Oh, the things are going to get better or something's going to work, you know. And she said, there was a time when the life of the woods, it presented itself to us. It didn't run. It didn't recoil. She said, and you can create this way again. She said, there are acts of love and acts of compassion. She said, but it's got to be action. And she said, many things that are going on right now, like there's some things we have released into the world through drilling for oil and stuff, because that was the single worst thing. She said, because we drilled into the Black Lake. The Black Lake was the accumulated liver of the planet. And she said, you have no idea the millions upon millions of lives that went into creating that lake. You know, the dinosaurs, all the things that went into it. She said it had a purpose and there were things swimming in that lake that got released out into this world, beings that feed on fiery energies. And she even said, how goes it since oil came into your world? And I said, what do you mean? She said, has there been much war, much violence? I mean, and I'm like, oh God. She said, this is why, because the beings that are released are beings that feed on a fiery energy in their atmosphere. They had it. They swam in the petroleum, like, you know, it was like mermaids of petroleum, right? And and I said, well, what are we going to do? She said, you alone can't do it. Your species can't do it alone. She said, but we can, but we will not. She said, but we will not come unbidden. This is why the co-creative paradigm is crucial, because the entanglements and entrenchments of many of the things that we have going, and there are things that I wonder about here. There's a lot of things that get released into the world through our technology that's driven by the illusion of isolation, but there's also things that are not. And I'm watching that too, you know, when I hear of people inventing the mushroom coats that break down many of the radiation and things in our body that's harmful to our earth when we decay, and I hear other things that are going on like that, I get hopeful. And she said, there are some technologies that have been played with and things that are going on. She said that must stop. And if they don't stop, these are things that put you and your species in peril. And but she said we are moving, we just have to move quicker, because of some things that are going on right now are things caused by us, because we're in the middle of the beginnings of an extinction event. And that is a scientific reality. Whether we can turn it around or not, we don't know. We know some things are natural, a part of the rhythm of the earth, but we know that the bulk of it has been caused by the hands of humans. And so she said, right now, nature is going to do what it needs to do. She said, the easier that you all make it, the easier it's going to be. She said, but the harder you make it, the harder it's going to be. And she said, what we're seeing now is nothing compared to what's coming. And she said, and that's not a determined reality. She said that those realities are moving and changing by the day. And a lot of it depends on us. The thing about us, y'all, is we create whether we really want to believe we do or not, in that there's the physical things, there's the technology things too, but we have this ability as a species to crystallize form. This is why we can paint and we can draw and we can invent and we can do all these things. We can hold reality in our mind and then externalize it by invention and paintings and all these things that we do. Really incredible. She said, but because of that, you can also hold things on the earth in a certain soul cage of sorts, right? You're affecting natural processes through it. She said, when the more people who get the co-creative paradigm, y'all, this is the thing, we're doing a benevolent infection. We're infecting others with this consciousness, because as people drift into our field, something inside them wakes up too. What we don't want, when I was a little boy, we had a huge field. I lived out in the country. And when we knew what time we were supposed to come in, and it was time, to get ready for bed. But if as that time came, Mom would start flashing the light on the back porch, right? So the first flashes were just slow ones, a blink, that meant, honey, it's time. Then a few minutes later, it would be a blink, blink, blink. That meant you better be on your way. And then the blink, 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 blink meant, don't make me get off this porch, and Mama was a higher power. And so right now we're getting the blink, blink, and it's calling us back into co-creation. And we don't want Earth Mother to come off that porch. So I think the work we're doing is more important than we know. Do I think some of the technology is a bit nefarious? I think so. I don't think the vaccines are, only because I was in public health for many, many years. I worked with Anthony Fauci. I worked with him for not real close, but I worked with him enough to get a sense of how he works. And the technology in these vaccines are fascinating. I wish that was the technology we were using back when. Because now you see the vaccines in the past really gave us antibodies against one viral strain. But then there's every year, as we see with influenza, there's a new one and a new one and a new one. The attempt with these vaccines is to teach our body how to begin developing a different kind of antibody, different kind of protein. And the technology is decent. It's decent. I'm just hoping that we can get to that place where then the body has developed. There's no virus in the world that we won't eventually develop our own immunity to. It will happen. And so now they're not trying to put antibodies. They're trying to give enough to teach our body how to produce its own. So, but it is a scary time, I just think y'all, please take good care of yourselves, because some of it is also the earth decreasing the population. She told us, and now she's working through us. And I don't know what the political agendas are. God knows we can't tell. But one thing I know is that Mother Fate and the eldest of ancestors, including the fair folk, we put our attention on them. And like I call upon the original ancestors to rise up through the blood, the bone, and the soil of every leader. They're all from the first blood too. And I think this is the kind of magics we have to do, where we go and we call to them to rise up and get their children in right order, and move our feet in right relationship with the directive of our spirit. And I've been starting to do that kind of magic. And that's a part of the series of classes I'm teaching. I did some of those last year too, where I did some river of blood work, and got people all over the world, doing it. And because that's important too. We've got to heal our ancestors. We got to consciously create a future that we want. See, if we don't claim the future we want and build the feeling of it being present now, and build that magnetic affinity, then the competing agendas that are fed by the illusion of isolation will keep designing the future. We don't want to just have a future by default. If we do, I don't think we'll be in a good place. And we can change them by the more of us that are resonating that change. It's a scary time, but the truth is, this is the time we all dressed up for. We've been dressing up, we've been training up. Y'all came here to be a part of the big change. No one said it'd be initially easy. In fact, everything said it won't. I don't think it's going to be easy at first, but I think if we keep and we persist, those changes can happen in the blink of an eye. Things can suddenly turn. We're just getting a good taste of what can happen if we don't, I think. Like that volcano, what the heck? Was there any warning about this massive thing? Did you see the satellite images? Wow. Was that humbling or what? But we've got to, with everything in us, go beyond what we see and go to those ancestors, human and other. We got to inform it what the world is that we want, so that we can counter the ones that have informed the world that we don't. We have to be the far-seers. It's people like us. I don't know if that answered any of your precious question, but I was trying.
Thank you, Orion. Unless there's any other questions, use your reaction, your hand raising tool. Orion, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and beauty and fierceness. Really, thank you so much for being part of Fairy Congress.
As long as y'all will have me, I'll be here. I love you. I love you.
You're coming back.
I love you.
So I did put my email in the chat, proudmountain.com or proudmountain@outlook.com. We'll be getting emails so we can keep you posted on further workshops with Orion, and of course get on the mailing list for Fairy. If you go to fairycongress.com, you'll get on the mailing list. And so the next thing that's coming up is 6:15. So in a half hour is the closing circle. But in the meantime, I'm going to put people in breakout rooms. Feel free to mingle, check in with each other. We have such a great community. I love this cross-pollination time. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up and for being part of this.
Young, can I leave y'all with a little charm that I just found? It's really not charm. It's a part of a poem, an old poem from I think it's the 1700s, 1800s. And this is about the fair folks. I'll leave you with it. So beautiful. That which is neither ill nor well, that which belongs not to heaven nor hell, a wreath of the mist, a bubble of the stream, twixt a waking thought and a sleeping dream, a form that men spy with the half-shut eye, in the beams of the setting sun am I. That's where we find the good people. Blessings to you all. Thank you. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you.
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 Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Love you.
God
Hey,
bless you.
Thank
you.
love.
So good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of love, Orion.
Thank you.
Love you.
Aristopoli. Orakalo.
Thank you.
Johnny.
Love you.
Bella.
Whose backyard is that? That's beautiful. Oh my God. I want to be there. Skeeter. Look at all these faces I adore. Oh my God, I love y'all.
Bye.
Bye now. Love you.
Love you.
Bye. Love you now.
Well, I'm the fairies helper. They got me to move in that.
Hi.
I just came out of the woodwork. That would be the forest.
Oh, wow. I have never done this breakout room thing, so I'm like scratching my head here. Did you get assigned to a breakout room? You wanted to?
No, not yet. Well, I'd rather hang out with you, but a breakout room would be fun.
Oh, thank you. All right, I'm gonna put you in a breakout room if I can.
Future suggestion, perhaps, would be to have breakout rooms by interest. Like people have maybe like 4 or 5 interests, and then the people that are they meet in their own little breakout rooms.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I like that
too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can't see how to put you in a breakout room. All right, I'm gonna go dive in here and see how people are doing.
Hi, Betty. Anybody home?
I'm here. We could actually. There's not that many of us. I'm just actually wondering if we could just be. This would be our breakout room. Suki, are you around? No, she's not.
How was your time?
Oh,
How's your time?
wow. I'm in wow. Over wow. It just hit me just before Orion that it's over. I really thought it was Saturday night. Oh, they had another day.
Right. Well, you get into a different time zone. You do. You get in like the time space thing is different in the fairy
Yeah,
realm.
yeah, exactly. And I'm supposed to drive to Mexico tomorrow, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh,
How did it
yeah.
get to be Sunday night already? Where are you?
Have you passed? I'm in Portland area.
Oh, great.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was in Portland. I was just out hiking around Creek State Park and during the forest, and it's rich, you know, sprites and whatnot. And I just got dark, so I and in a parking lot beside of the road. But it was beautiful. It was really nice. I did a tree planting this afternoon.
Wait, say that again. Can you slow it down? For it's vibrating weirdly. Maybe I'll turn my mute off.
Try that. Is that better? Okay. I did a tree planting today, and it was really nice. This afternoon, as kind of druids and fairy kind of thing. I'm an arborist, and so they invited me to give instruction just a bit. And so it's somebody's private property, and it was a Payor group. It's a Jewish group. They meet for the Sabbath Friday evenings, and so they invited me to come out and help do their tree planting. It was great. I mean, it was really awesome. You know, I love that kind of thing, and so it just fit right into the whole thing. Yesterday afternoon, I went out to Eagle Creek Falls, the trail out in the Columbia River Gorge, and it's really beautiful. And I was a little late. I wanted to join the group, but it was I was out of zone. I was out of coverage area. Yeah. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back and revisit this whole event again, one episode at a time, so to speak, and hopefully, you know, kind of savor the connection and also fill in some of the talks I didn't go to. Yeah. So, but for me, one of the takeaways was just meditation, was just meditating and picturing the fairy, you know, the connections. And so I did another one with dolphins. And so I swam, I was in Hawaii, where Captain Cook had his demise. There's this little harbor. And I ported there. I was on a sailboat, we ported. And I swam with the dolphins there. It was really cool. With a pod of dolphins. And so I savor that connection. And so it's just an imprint that I can hang on to.
Yeah.
And also my different connections with the Fae. With the sprite, I saw him zooming along one time.
Yes.
So I meditate on that, and it helps me connect and develop my psychic abilities in the fairy realm and the connection there. And so I do that when I'm under a stream or something. I visualize them and just say, hi, how you doing? Out here having a good time. I'll share this with you since you're kindred folk. I was on Mount Shasta, and the fairies taught me like a limerick to connect with them. And I'm gonna see if it's okay to share. Yeah, they're saying, yeah, you're good. You're family here. Is I snap my fingers, the middle fingers, and you say, I believe in fairies, and the fairies believe in me. And you do it 3 times. I believe in fairies, and the fairies believe in me. I believe in fairies, and the fairies believe in me. And the first time you do it, you could do a few times more. And I turn clockwise direction, like turn, and point my attention at my crown chakra, and I snap my fingers around up like a helix. And it elevates me up into this unseen world, this other dimension. And I hang out there. And when I call them in, I say, hello, how you doing? And I always say, you're welcome to come and go as you wish. Okay? That way, no sticky endings or beginnings. I'm just saying, hey, how you doing? I'm having a celebration here. I'm welcoming you in. And also, it's a time to ask them a question or offer them something like, hey, how you doing? Here's some fruit or some meat or, you know, creamy thing or whatever you want. And they welcome that. And after I do that a number of times, then I feel it's okay to make a request. Like, hey, can you teach me about something? Or can you help me with some kind of magic to manifest something? Or this kind of thing. And you know, they show up, and you know, don't be alarmed if they start stealing your keys or doing other kind of mischief, playing with your hair, right? You know, they do that kind of stuff. So yeah, are you in?
Yeah, I love that I love that vision. Two things that have been through line through the whole weekend is you were talking about you know, being on the electricity. I've had so many visions of the Fae kind of like um, skateboarding almost along
Right.
along these lines, and then the other
Right.
that keeps coming up, and then that photon belt is that there's this belt is in a lamaskay, you know, a yin yang or infinity, but as almost like a belt, and it's been like a trampoline. So anybody who's come on has been on this trampoline.
Oh wow!
Inside and on the outside, and they're like walking this trampoline. So both of those things that you had just mentioned were like, oh, because you had talked about this lamaskay or the being in that connection of that. And Suki's here. Can you hear? Can you speak?
Hey, my dear.
Hi. Oh, you sound stuffy, huh?
Oh, I feel like shit.
Aw.
Not funny.
I know. It's
And know what to expect. May you be
Not
well.
funny.
Send you a little blessing, a little love for that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's I slept through most of everything.
no.
How are you doing, Miss Bell?
Oh, I'm so good. This is
Yeah, you look awesome.
Thank you.
She looks better than you do.
I'm sure she does. I know
Well,
she does.
I've already COVIDed a couple of weeks ago, so I've COVIDed and re-COVIDed and re-COVIDed.
How many times did you get it?
Well, all together 3 times. 2019, I'm sure I had it before, and then last winter, and we both tested positive, and that was the mildest. And then just a few weeks ago, I'm sure I felt like a cold, but
that's what happened. That's what happened from my friend. He felt like he had a head cold, so he didn't think anything of it, and he tested positive. I didn't at the time, and then I just
I think I got Omicron. I think I got the Omicron variant. I'm not certain. But I feel like the Omicron is the best thing that happened to us because it's milder form and it's very virulent. So everybody's going to catch it, and
we'll
they
have
get some
group
immunity. Yeah, although folks are thinking I have the Delta, so we'll see. Because I got so sick. But I don't know that they can tell.
Yeah, bummer.
So, anything good come at this weekend for you?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of sleep. I've been sleeping.
Okay. Great.
I mean, I listened to a few, you know, I was on the calls, but I just been completely out of it.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be interesting to see how much you ingested during the sleep time.
I know.
That's especially being sick. I mean, one of my first, dare I say, godly experiences. I was catching a flu, and this at the home where I was staying on the shore of Lake Erie, up over the lake. She made me a hot toddy, and I fell asleep. And I don't know whether I woke up or whether I was woken, But I had my first godly experience, and that was like
Wow.
16, 17 years old, something.
Mm.
So sometimes those, going into the sleep time while you're sick.
Right.
Yeah. Who else is here?
Is anybody else here?
No.
There's pictures. I just don't see.
I
any.
know. I don't know who Betty.
They all went away and took a break or something.
Yeah, there's a breakout. Jan's trying to get us into a breakout room. So
Well, hell
we
yeah.
just started talking.
Whatever.
This is our breakout room, I guess.
There
We're
we
in.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody have any good fairy stories or elfin or she stories? Or...
Let me tell you. I have to go back. I have to go back to my notes of were you here for yesterday morning's meeting your fairy guide?
I was sleeping then.
Oh, okay. Oh well.
Like I said, I'm going to go back over it again. And
it's going to be it'll be so good, but Jan's last year was amazing in its own right, but this year I met an elf, and his name, it was so and I said, introduced myself. I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Bry." And I said, "Bry?" And he goes, "Yeah, rhymes with rye." And as soon as he said that, I smelled, remember the way rye bread used to smell?
Right.
Whoa, my whole body was like, "Oh, rye bread."
Wow.
Like, how could I ever forget you?
That's great.
So I can't remember.
Hey, Yanni.
Oh, somebody's here. But I have to remember what his message was. I'll have to go back to my notes of what his message was. But it was so wonderful to finally be greeted by an elf. I've been kind of waiting.
Well,
So what was
you're
it?
an elf.
Waiting for dragons and elves. I mean, those are my two
Yeah.
that I've been wanting and been waiting for.
So can you describe this elf? Can you
Oh,
describe
yeah.
your rye
Very
bread?
gnarly. So he was I know what he had said. Now thank you for that. He was very gnarly. We're talking serious joints, in that arthritic, but could still move. So kept on going like this to me, and he goes, "I'm here to nudge you along."
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, because I have no desire. I've had a charmed, fabulous life. I have no desire to ever retire. And I live in a retirement community, and the energy of a retirement community is lovely, but it also brings the energy into a kind of way where you think you're relaxed, and I have been. I also feel not as alive. So I really think that as sweet and they're sweet, and the people's stories are just great, but the energy, there really is we're leaving now energy.
Oh, interesting.
Where I've always, tried to stay in the,
right.
We're going to do this next, and I haven't had that oomph yet. So Bry is going to teach me or nudge me to what's next for me and for what my new position is going to be. And I'm a reflexologist, and I teach yoga here. Which is such a joy to be here to create.
What an opportunity to do that. You're in a great place for that.
Yeah, we are in a really sweet place, and it's hot springs. I'm in Hot Springs. So
wow, where are you at?
It's called Desert Hot Springs near Palm Springs, California.
Oh wow!
I
love Joshua Tree.
Yeah, I was going to say, to my right, my next door neighbor that way is Joshua Tree, and my next door neighbor that way is Palm Springs.
Okay, wow, beautiful.
So if you've taken that road off of Route 10, you went right by
Yeah.
our place. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go down to the Bhakti Fest out
Oh,
there.
sure. Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I rock climbing, and yeah, I love Joshua Tree. That's such a
Yeah.
cool place.
Such a cool place.
Did your elf?
I've done.
Oh, Sasha's here. Hi,
Oh,
Sasha.
yeah, hi. Did your elf nudge you to move or nudge you to shift the energy at the retirement community?
Oh, very curious, Sasha. That's a great question.
Hey,
I haven't, it's in my notes to go back, but no, I don't think it was for the community. I actually, I'm a new grandmother of almost 2 years, and there's another number two. Number two is on his way, and I'm thinking it's a reemergence. I used to bless babies, and I think it's a reemergence of fairy godmother, grandmother,
right.
something
nice.
is stirring. So thank you for that, Sasha. Yeah, it's not for the group. The group gets me on however they get me. Yeah.
I'm going to leave you guys just for the moment.
Yes, actually, I need to take a bio break
All right.
before our.
I will see you at the Angel Wash, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Sushi. Oh, it's so good to see
Bye-bye.
you, honey.
See
I
ya.
love you.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Hey, Sasha, I just went. Oh, I guess
Oops.
Sasha's gone.
She's gone. So this was fun. Thank you so much for sharing your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Beverly. Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
I'm
for sharing
Belle,
that.
but I am a
Oh,
Beverly
Belle.
Belle, but I go by Belle. Yeah. That's
Belle.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. And
Yeah.
may you be blessed, and may you pass your blessings on to your grandchildren.
Thank you, and you as well. Yeah, and come down that when you're in Joshua Tree, let me know.
Okay, Belle. Hell's bells.
Exactly. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, hi,
there's
Elizabeth.
oh,
How you
now there's
doing?
more. You can keep talking. I got to take a bio break. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Hey, Elizabeth. All right. Bye, Belle.
Bye-bye.
Be well. How you doing? How has your time been? Are you on mute?
Oh, I guess it
can't-
muted me automatically
Okay.
when I left the breakout.
Right.
Yeah. I actually just meant to leave the meeting so I could go grab some dinner before we leave
okay.
the meeting. Yeah. So I'll see you later.
Okay. Hi, Krista.